We're going to turn this inexpensive, hideous brick paneling into a gorgeous backsplash. Measure the length and height of each panel will need to be cut to. I use the jigsaw and a table saw to make the cuts. Cutting the panels to size is a little like a game of Tetris. You may have to waist cut a few rows so that they line up when they are hung end to end, side by side. Next, you will need to take the panels in and mark where notches may need to be cut in order for the panels to fit under the cabinets. The next tip is super helpful for cutting the holes for the outlets. Take a tube of toothpaste and squirt a little on the corners of each outlet. Then slide your panels into place. Then remove them again and the toothpaste will have transferred to the back of the panel, showing where you need to cut the hole for the outlet. Now you're ready to set your panels in place. First, put construction adhesive on the back of the panels and then press them into place. Use a nail gun or panel nails to attach the panels into place. Now it's time for the faux finish. Sporadically paint the bricks various colors. I use white, tan, black, gray, and brown. Then use a wet rag to blend all the colors together. Lastly, spread the spackle on like a thin coat of icing. So see, this is really forgiving too, like if you didn't cut very straight, which I did not, on this piece, there's this big gap. I'm just going to fill it in. Okay, now we're going to go to the next step, which is super messy. So this is grout, like what you would use for tile. It's pre-mixed. I'm going to drop it all over my counter. So this is the most time-consuming part. So this is the last step. After you put the grout on, you just have to let it dry. I thought I was going to like put a wax on it, and I really like how it's turned out. I hope this inspires you to do a faux brick backsplash for your farmhouse kitchen.
Before you spend money on expensive tile, check out this $100 idea. I used Shiplap and cut it to size the length of my kitchen wall, and then I painted it using a paint sprayer. You can paint it by hand using a brush, but it just takes a little bit of extra time to make sure that you get all of the tongue sections painted well, so that when the shiplap goes together, the color doesn't show any white at all. I placed my first piece in the kitchen, and I made sure to mark where the outlets were. I needed to cut just the little tongue part of the shiplap to make sure that it would not go over the outlet area. I did this using a tool called a multi-tool. It worked well for me and was really quick. Once I notched out that section of the tongue, I simply placed the shiplap in place and secured it using a nail gun. Normally with shiplap, I only apply the nails at the tongue part of the shiplap because then it gets covered up by the next piece and I don't have any nail holes anywhere in my projects. I added my next piece and again marked where my outlets were on the wall. This time I cut the shiplap accordingly and then added those into place using the nail gun. I continued this way up the wall. It took me 4 pieces of shiplap to get to the top of the backsplash and fit right underneath the cabinets. Next, I did the same thing in the area behind the stove and cut the wood to go all the way to the next wall. Next to the refrigerator, I also added the shiplap pieces going around my outlet once again. After that, I put my new appliances in and added little trim pieces to the edges to give my project a finished look. The entire project took only 8 pieces of shiplap total, which ended up costing well under $100 and taking only a couple of hours to complete the project from start to finish. After updating this 1980s kitchen, I knew it needed something more. I wanted to add backsplash, but I didn't want it to take long or create a mess on my new countertops. So I decided to use an adhesive tile mat along with mosaic tile sheets, white grout, and a sponge so that I could complete this project start to finish in just one day. The adhesive mat comes on a roll, and I found that it was best to hold the roll essentially up against the bottom of the cabinet and allow gravity to help it hang down straight. Try to position it properly the first time. When it came to the outlets, I made sure the power was off and I simply cut the mat with a razor blade so that I could create an opening around the outlet and disposal switch area. It took me only about half an hour to get the entire backsplash area on this small kitchen done. When I was ready to place the tile, I removed the white cover sheet. My tiles were 12 inches and the mat's 12 inches, but in order to properly place a tile, I didn't just remove one sheet, I removed 2. This way I would have a bit of a larger sticky surface area and also not risk pulling up my tile when removing the next adhesive cover sheet. You can use spacers when installing the tile sheets, but I felt comfortable working without them. The work progressed pretty easily and I was lucky that at the first corner the tiles ended in just the right spot. But when I got to the second corner I wasn't quite so fortunate. I needed just a little bit more tile to get to the end. So I measured the distance, and then I measured and marked it on the back of the tile sheet. My husband was helping me out at the tile saw while I was doing the installation, and he went ahead and cut right down the tile mosaic sheet for me. I loved how the other end of the tile sheet turned out. It had that great cut, and I was able to just stick that in place along the other corner wall, and the tile looked like it professionally made itself around the corner without any break in the pattern. Super satisfying. When I got to the outlet and light switch area, I was able to press the tile into place just very lightly and then cut away the tile. I made sure only to cut the mosaic tile netting and not cut the adhesive on the wall. After all, I needed the adhesive to stay there because I was going to cut the tile down to size and install them there so that they could go around the opening. The great thing about this project is that there's no downtime, so I was ready to grout already. You should use a grout float to add the grout, but I'll be honest, I find it so difficult to maneuver a grout float. I cheated. I used a plastic putty knife to help me get the grout into the tile and into the crevices. It is not the traditionally recommended way to add grout, but I'm being transparent and letting you know that this is what worked for me because I felt like I could really get the grout into the spaces really well. I added the grout and then went over it with a damp sponge to get the grout residue off of the tile surface. I rinsed and repeated the cleaning with the damp sponge several times. I added the outlet covers, my decor items, and then I was done. It was a really quick and easy project, and I think the kitchen really changed as a result. I love the way it looks. I was shocked to see how the stove now looks glaringly almond, whereas before, when everything around it was yellow and brown, it looked white. I hope this inspired you to try a DIY tile backsplash project of your own. Thanks for watching Home Talk, and see you next time.
The subway tiles are nice, but they are very plain. So when I saw these beautiful vintage smart tiles that just came out, I knew they were perfect for this kitchen. Because they are peel and stick tiles, they can go right over the existing tiles, making this project really quick and mess-free. Plus, the tiles will easily come off when they move out by simply applying some heat with a hairdryer. I chose to start installing the tiles from the corner because it gives a nicer look to have full tiles there. I had to pull out the stove to access the corner, and then I removed all the electrical outlet covers and cleaned the existing backsplash with degreaser. To start off with, I marked where the top of the first row of the tiles is going to be, and then I used a level to trace the line. I added tape just to make it easier to see the line. Next, I laid out all the tiles to figure out the layout. There's 8 different designs of tiles, so I just played around with them until I liked the look of the pattern. I peeled off a couple of inches of the backing and aligned the top of the tile with the line, and I only pressed lightly on the tile. This way, it's easier to reposition the tile if needed. Once I was happy with the alignment, I pressed firmly on the tile and slowly removed the backing, firmly pressing the tile on the wall at the same time. Cutting the tiles to fit around an outlet or a window frame is really easy. All you need are a utility knife, a non-slip ruler, and a pen or pencil. You measure the distance from the tile to the frame or outlet. You transfer the measurements to the back of the tile, and using the ruler as a guide, you cut the tile with the utility knife. Perfect fit. You'll get the best results when installing tile over existing tile like I'm doing here, when you start off with a backsplash that is nice and smooth without having any tile sticking out. To finish the edge at the end of the backsplash, I put glue along the edge of the tile to attach corner molding that I painted white. That way, when it's time to remove the tiles, the molding will come off as well without damaging the wall. The tiles are really easy to clean, and they're fine to use behind a stove as long as the stove has a control panel like this stove here. And with all the beautiful colors found in the tiles, it gave me lots of inspiration for the rest of the makeover, including the window treatment. I decided to go with a rustic take on a window cornice, painted a dark navy blue to match the tiles. I made it by screwing together some rough pine boards that I had left over from another project. And I also attached 1x2s to the sides to secure the corner brackets for hanging. To get the right color for the paint, I took the tiles to Home Depot, and they were able to do a custom color for me that worked out perfectly. The cornice slides into place, and the corner brackets rest on top of the cabinets to hold it up. Though the cornice is very secure just resting on top like this, I also added screws for extra support. I love the way this turned out, and it also has the added bonus of making the window look taller while at the same time hiding the hardware from the blinds. This entire makeover came in under budget at $446. The tiles made up the bulk of this cost, but they also gave the biggest wow factor to this transformation, something that only painting the walls couldn't have done. And by doing this project as soon as they moved in, Shayna, Tessa, and Waffles will get to enjoy this kitchen for the entire time that they live in the house, making the investment well worth it. And they can rest easy that everything's going to be easily reversible when they move out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.